Oh, ye gods! My roast is ruined! But what if I were to purchase fast food and disguise it as my own cooking? Delightfully devilish, Seymour. Superintendent, I hope you're ready for mouth-watering hamburgers.
I thought we were having steamed clams.
No, I said steamed hams. That's what I call hamburgers.
You call hamburgers steamed hams?
Yes.
Yes, and you call them steamed hams despite the fact they are obviously grilled.
Yes.
Well, Seymour, you are an odd fellow, but I must say, you steam a good ham.
Hey, how's it going, my friends? Brandon here, and today we've got a very important mission. We received a brief from none other than Springfield's very own Principal Seymour Skinner. It seems that after his extremely successful dinner with Superintendent Chalmers, Skinner got the idea to take his fast food switcheroo scheme and expand it into something a little bigger. See, Skinner wants to leave behind his boring everyday life of elementary school principaling and dive headfirst into building his very own fast food empire that rivals Krusty Burger itself. However, since he has no actual cooking ability or culinary knowledge of his own, Skinner wants to continue buying food straight from Krusty Burger, repackage it, and sell it back to the fine folks of Springfield at a marginal profit. Seymour is a smart man though, and he knows the value of great branding when it comes to running a business. So who does he turn to make him an awesome, recognizable brand that guarantees his success in the cutthroat world of fast food? Us, of course. And so that means today, we're going to be creating the branding for Skinner's very own steamed hams. Now when it comes to branding fast food, the main area of focus is the packaging, because not only does it create a unique customer experience, but everywhere customers take that packaging, it basically acts as a walking billboard for the restaurant. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. For our steamy sandwiches, we'll be packaging them in a wrapper made from nice thick craft paper. It fits firmly around the sandwich, seems durable enough, and actually feels quite premium. Once our burger is fully wrapped, it'll be around 4 inches wide and form a rough circle. And now for a few requirements from Principal Skinner. He's requested that this brand be fun and easily recognizable. It needs to fit the visual style of The Simpsons. And finally, we need to make sure customers know this is a hamburger and not a regular ham, as the name might imply. Now, one of the things about fast food is that it has to be made fast. And that means these bad boys are going to get wrapped in a hurry. This fact leads us to 2 different conclusions. First, the shape of every wrapper will be different. Each will have a unique set of wrinkles, and none of them will be a clean, perfect circle. Second, no design we put on here will be perfectly centered. Variations in sandwich size and wrapping techniques will lead to small misalignments almost every time. With those things in mind, we can break our wrapper into 3 sections. First is the primary section. This area basically is the holy grail of the wrapper. It's the most visible spot with the least amount of wrinkling, and anything that's placed here is going to be easily seen even with slight wrapper misalignments. Next, we have the secondary section. This area also has a high chance of being in view, and it'll likely only contain mild distortion from wrinkles. And last, we have the overflow section. Any design elements placed here may be severely wrinkled or possibly just hidden altogether from a top-down view. So anything we put in this zone shouldn't be of central importance to the overall design. Now, as far as what content our wrapper needs to include, we'll obviously need the word steamed ham on there, since that's the main brand. There are actually going to be different varieties of steamed hams, so each package will need to say which variety it is. In this case, it will just be the original steamed ham. And finally, we'll need somewhere for Skinner's restaurant logo to go. Now when it comes to placing content on a package like this, there are generally 2 main ways it's done out in the real world. The first way you'll see is when all the content is grouped together and then tiled across the entire wrapper. This method ensures the information is always visible, regardless of the packaging alignment, wrinkles, sandwich size, or even the sandwich's rotation. However, the core content also has to be much smaller to make the tiling effect work, so any single element isn't that prominent. I'd also say that this method can sometimes look a little cluttered because there's no clear hierarchy, it's just a bunch of small information. The second option you'll see is where there's only a single copy of the content placed on the package, but it's generally larger and takes up a good portion of the viewable area. This usually gives the content the most visibility, especially from a distance because of its larger size, but this method does require you to ensure that all the graphics are placed within a well-defined area, with some margin around the edges to account for any alignment issues or sandwich size variations. Personally, I think this option has some advantages when it comes to creating a more memorable and recognizable brand, so let's use it for a model for a wrapper layout. Looking back at our content, the first thing we'll want to place on here is the steamed ham text. It's the most important element, and we'll stick it firmly in the primary zone. Since it's decently long when it's all on one line though, it might be best to split it up into 2 different ones. That way, we can make both words bigger while still keeping them inside our target region. And you'll notice ham is now extra large, which I think works well because it's really the word at the center of this entire brand. So bringing extra focus to it seems like a good strategy. Now the original text can go right below that to act as a descriptor, And as for the logo, it's a bit of a secondary element in a way. The steamed ham brand is more what we're building, and so I want people to recognize it on its own, and not just because they see Skinner's logo on it. So I think I'll actually hold off on placing it on here until we see what we come up with for the main design. Well, that takes care of the basic layout, and now we can make one of our first and possibly most important decisions in the design process. And that will be what color we should make this wrapper. This single choice will make one of the largest visual impacts to the overall design, since it'll basically cover the entire package. In fact, I bet if I were to show you these packages from 3 different real fast food restaurants, you'd probably be able to guess where each of them came from just based on their color. If you're feeling confident, leave a comment down below with your guesses. And there you go. Were you right? Now when it comes to picking a color for our wrapper, we need to think about what the color says about the brand. For instance, a black package might give off a more serious or luxurious tone. A soft pastel color might feel earthy and natural. But for our package, we want something fun and energetic that also matches the Simpsons style. And to me, there's no color more perfect for that job than yellow. Not only will it stand out in a crowd, but practically every character in The Simpsons is in fact yellow. So this should feel right at home to them. Plus, some studies have shown that the color yellow makes people feel more hungry, which is great in this instance. Now, if you'll remember, one of our goals was to make sure people understood that this is indeed a hamburger, not a ham sandwich. And since we don't have the word hamburger in text form anywhere on the package, maybe we could represent it in an illustrated form instead. Now we could draw a full burger, but I'm not sure we really need to. It's probably obvious just based on the shape and the wrapping that this is some kind of sandwich, including things in our illustration like a bun and toppings, all of which are found on a wide variety of sandwiches, doesn't really give us any extra information about the type of sandwich this is. It just reinforces the idea that it's a sandwich. So it seems to me, if we focus on the hamburger and get rid of everything else, that would be the simplest and clearest way to let people know what kind of sandwich they're dealing with. To draw a burger in a cartoon style that matches The Simpsons, we can simply start with a hamburger colored circle. No burger is perfectly smooth, so adding some bumps around the edges will help give it that ground beef look. To make it feel a little less flat, we can add in some highlights and shading. And of course, who could forget the most important part of all, the grill marks. In The Simpsons, almost everything has a black outline to help give it that cartoon look. But I'm going to take a little bit of artistic liberty here and make it a dark brown line instead of pure black, just because I think it'll match the burger a bit better. Now we'll just take this and place it on the wrapper. Now it doesn't look that great, mainly because it covers up all the text. We could try shrinking it down and squeezing it in here somewhere, but then it just doesn't carry much visual weight. So in this case, one option we have is to combine some of these elements together to make better use of this space. Now I'm just thinking out loud here, but since we're trying to help customers understand that ham is just a nickname for hamburger, what if we took our ham text and combined that with our burger illustration, so that the text is actually made out of hamburger? I think I like that. Let's go with it. I'll just put this back into place. And now that we've got some hamburger on here, I think it's time to add a little bit of steam to go with it. Believe it or not, drawing cartoon steam is actually pretty straightforward. All you have to do is start out by making a puffy base out of overlapping round shapes, make it wide, and then on each circle, you just paint a crescent shape towards the bottom to act as a shadow and give the whole thing some dimension. So we'll just add a couple of steam clouds here that come up from the burger, surround our steam text, and expand outward as they move upward. Now I believe we need to make this text a little more visible, and we'll definitely want a better font for it. Something that feels cartoony and matches the ham text. Ooh, this one looks nice. Maybe this one too. Oh, and I really like this one. Trying out our first option, I feel like this one feels fun and bubbly, and it's not a bad choice at all. The second one is nice too, but I think it's almost too thin to act as a title in this case, so let's just get rid of that one. And now for this last one, I like that quite a bit. It feels playful, but it's got more structure than the first option, so I think I'm gonna go with it. Now we'd like to find a better way to tie our Steam text in with the actual Steam graphic, so maybe if we gave that text a white outline, the whole thing would blend in a little better with the white and the clouds. I like what we've got so far, but the package does feel a little flat right now. So I'm thinking maybe we could add a little depth to it by giving our ham a slight shadow. I'll just add a light in here, and we can tell from the position of the highlights on the ham text that our light should be coming from somewhere around this area, and we can pull it a little closer to make sure the shadow isn't too long. Now I'll just make this a little less intense, and of course that won't be a purely black shadow, it'll be more of a brown tone. Perfect. I'm thinking our original text should be the same dark color as the Steam text, and I'll also give it a font that feels playful but that still has some structure to it. I think something like this would work pretty well. It's a little thinner so it won't overpower the other text, but it's bold enough to notice. Well, we're looking pretty good now. but I can't help but think our sandwich is looking a little too healthy at the moment. Because if there's one thing that the people of Springfield love, it's a sandwich that pushes the limits of what modern medical science considers safe to consume. So let's give the people what they want. Perhaps a small puddle of grease around the meat would give that extra little touch that says, if you eat me, you'll probably die sooner, but it'll be worth it. I'll just reposition the original text slightly, and I think that'll wrap it up. Honestly, I'm really happy with this. I feel like it would definitely stand out in a crowd, and if you saw somebody opening this big yellow wrapper, you're gonna know where they got it from. Also, the layout we've got here works really well for creating packaging for other varieties of burgers that Skinner might want to sell as well. Just as a quick example, let's say we want to steal the Mother Nature burger from Krusty Burger and repackage that to sell to Skinner's customers. This particular burger is actually supposed to be made from wheat-fed barley. Strange, I know. Apparently, it was Krusty's attempt at winning over the few people in town who were more health conscious. So all we need to do to create this additional sandwich type is take our base design and make it healthy. We'll start by changing our text from original to natural. Obviously, we need to get rid of this grease, and we'll just swap out our meat for barley. Now, I think this yellow background color could be changed to something a little more subtle. Something like this light brown not only feels more natural, but it also creates an easy way for customers to tell it apart from the original burger. And it may just be me, but with this new color, it almost looks like our wrapper is mimicking some kind of hamburger bun. Now, these burgers are actually supposed to have sesame seed buns, so let's sprinkle a few on. To really play into this natural feeling, I think I'll change the color of the steam shadow to more of a brown. And I'll do the same to the rest of the text also. Now that does feel a little more cohesive, but perhaps a bit too monochromatic. So I think what we need is a splash of color to help liven things up. And as with all things in nature, if you give it a little sun and a little rain, something's bound to grow. Just like that, you can see how easily it was to make another variety of burger that's visually unique, but still maintains the same core brand. But wait a minute, I think we forgot about one little detail. Skinner's logo. Skinner wanted his logo somewhere on the wrapper, but we can't really do that yet because we don't actually have a logo. So let's whip one up real quick. Since Principal Skinner is stealing all of his food from Krusty Burger, he might as well borrow from the logo too. The Krusty Burger logo is pretty simple. It's just got the name of the restaurant sandwiched between two buns with Krusty the Clown's face on top. I like this basic structure, but I want to simplify it just a bit. First, we'll just get rid of Krusty's face and hands. Get rid of these seeds also, since they're just too detailed. And I'll erase this middle part as well. I want something a little more solid, so I'm going to fill in these two shapes so they're not just outlines. Now let's get Skinner's name in here. Now I'll just even up these buns a bit to make them more similar, and so the name hangs off the edges slightly, like it would if it were a real sandwich. Finally, to make this feel more like a single unit and to amp up the cartooniness, let's add a thick outline around the whole thing. And folks, there we have it. But you might be wondering, where are we going to put it? Because there just doesn't seem to be any room for it on the wrapper. But that's just because we're looking at the wrong side. If we flip these over, we can see that the paper doesn't stay together very well on its own. And it seems to me, the perfect thing to solve that is a sticker with Skinner's logo on it. That way, every time somebody orders one of these burgers, just as they're about to peel back the wrapper and take that first bite, they'll see the name Skinner and know exactly who it came from. Now that we've got that, I can't help but think we should design one more sandwich. If we take a look at some of the items from the Krusty Burger menu that we could resell at Skinner's, we'll see that there's a few options to choose from. Since we've already designed two packages for burgers, I'd like to pick something kind of different. And I think this fish sandwich is just the thing. Since this will be one of our special sandwiches, I'm thinking we need to upgrade it from a regular wrapper to something a little more premium. That's what I'm talking about. Now for this box, our primary section will be this entire top square here. The secondary section will be all of these edges on the side, and the rest of the box likely won't hold too much of importance just because of its low visibility. Now as for a design, we really want to make this feel like a Simpsons style fish sandwich. For our steamed hams, we used imagery representing the actual sandwich meat. And I think we should do the same thing here. So, we need a fish. As far as fish go, there's no more famous one than Blinky, the three-eyed fish. Having been mutated by the dumping of nuclear waste into their local lake, he was thrust into the spotlight for all of Springfield to see. Fortunately for us, we can capitalize on Blinky's fame and use him as a fun, quirky way to brand our sandwich. In the show, Blinky was a nice, vibrant orange color. But on our burger wrappers, we showed the meat in a cooked form, not raw. And it seems most fast food fish sandwiches are deep fried. So let's give Blinky here a nice oil bath. And that should do it. Now Blinky is a beautiful golden brown with an excellent crunchy crust. And I know what you're thinking. If somebody saw this, isn't it possible they'd mistake this for a box of fish sticks or maybe even a single fish fillet? And yes, they very well might. See, unlike our steamed ham wrappers, where you could easily see the shape of a bun, our box gives no indication that what's inside here is a sandwich. So to help make that clear, let's place Blinky here in between two fluffy sesame seed buns. Now, most people in the area probably associate Blinky with his traditional orange color, but since we got rid of that earlier to replace it with this golden crust, maybe we could bring that back into play in the background. It's nice and vibrant, and once again, it acts as a really good way to separate it from the other items sold at Skinner's restaurant. At this point, if you told me that somebody unfamiliar with Blinky could look at this and mistake it for some kind of strange deformed chicken, I'd say you have a point. So to remedy that, let's add in the one thing that really sells Blinky as a fish: water. I'm thinking we could have a little fountain of water splash up from the bottom. That way, it looks like Blinky is valiantly coming forth from the sea. In addition to that, we'll of course need the word fish on here somewhere. And I think if we curve that text a bit, that would make a nice frame around Blinky. Maybe even adding a few splashes coming off of those letters can make the whole thing mimic white foam coming off of our water spout down below. And of course, we'll need to add some depth in here, just like we did on the steamed hams. Once again, a small shadow should take care of that. And finally, a pretty common thing to do with these types of boxes is to put some descriptive words or phrases on the sides that people can read from different angles. So I've come up with a few potential ones here that accurately describe this fish sandwich. And I'll just stick those on there, and we can call that done. And here is our final result. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, and you want to see more of these types of videos in the future, then make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I honestly had a lot of fun with this one, and I'd love to know what you guys thought of it down in the comments. If you want to hang out with me and the rest of this community, then I've got a Discord that you can join. There'll be a link in the description, so check that out. I've got some other videos where I design things from movies and TV shows if you want to check those out. I really appreciate you guys for watching this, and I'll catch you in the next one.